Wednesday morning. It's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world. Lots of movement with some big company announcements yesterday, namely SpaceX out there. We'll look into all of that with the Market Watch, stocks we're paying attention to, plus local national stories that you need to know out there, including a big company that was founded here in Gilbert has since moved on to other ventures, but the selling of it. But the owners of that company, well, they're still operating under a different brand name. We'll tell you about that coming up here. Big movement here in the affordable, healthy food space. We'll talk about that coming up later in the show as well. And with all that being said, let's get right into that Market Watch. And everything is up. We're our S&P 500's a new record, a record day yesterday for all the indexes basically out there. 5-day rally, strong earnings is leading that on the S&P 500. Obviously, there's a lot of Iran optimism with the latest, conversation of Strait of Hormuz reopening and the festivities over there, as I like to call them, kind of slowing down as well. There are certain Fed members out there doing the circuit, if you will, the speeches. They're saying, like, for instance, Kashtari, one of those Fed chairmen, his name is Kashtari. I should clarify that. He said now is the time to start slowly moving rates up. As I said, like 75% of the people that predict these things on the market are saying a Fed increase is coming in September. That number is pretty solid there on those numbers. We get the private companies report today, ADP. We'll talk about all of that coming up. But that's leading us here to generally the markets being up here this morning, all except for the Russell 2K so far. Well, the Dow Jones, as you see, way up today again, 456 points to 54,689. As I said, getting up to high levels yesterday, close to records and passing records for these, especially the S&P 500. 36 points up here today, 77.82 for that index. The NASDAQ, 80 points up right now, 26,665. The Russell 2K, the one laggard here, but it's basically even, right? 3 points down here, 3,043 for the Russell 2K. And then there's Bitcoin. Up today, not nominally here, 375 points, 64,432 for Bitcoin as it's creeping closer to that 65 level that it was at most of last week out there as well. Stocks we're paying attention to right now, well, if you don't know it, and it's going to be our lead story today as well, but SpaceX is what we're going to look at first. Down 10.19% here today. We knew they were reporting yesterday. It was up throughout the day yesterday. They even announced a deal with NVIDIA for some space technology things out there that yesterday, which got them up to about 9% up yesterday. Yeah, and then they announced their numbers and they announced their capital expenditures. And today they're down 10.40% right now. Look at this, folks, trading at $112.24 as of right now as well. They released their first quarterly report since going public in June yesterday. SpaceX, the big problem for them, they reported their capital expenditures were at $18.37 billion in the second quarter. Artificial intelligence spending is the reason why, and they're up 550% from a year ago period in those capital expenditures. Remember, SpaceX has part of it, the artificial intelligence part of Elon Musk companies, the XAI, for instance, which runs Gronk out there. Those are labeled into SpaceX here. The capital expenditure, like all the AI companies, are through the roof. And investors aren't liking that a lot of times out there. Second quarter revenue for SpaceX did come in at $7.81 billion. Way blew away the $6.93 billion estimate out there on the markets. It did lose 9 cents per share. And everybody was kind of estimating a 26 cents per share loss if you combine all of the estimates out there. And they lost 9 cents per share. So, ideally beat that number, but there's a lot of questions here with their capital expenditure side of it. That'll be our lead story here coming up. A little bit more details on SpaceX's announcement yesterday out there. Next stock we're going to look at is Disney right now. Now, Disney's up 3.11% here this morning. Well, they reported a mixed fiscal third quarter yesterday. Earnings per share did come in above the expectations. The revenue was their problem. It did miss slightly yesterday as well. That when in their announcement, revenue for the company's experiences business, these are the things like theme parks, for instance, they were up 10% annually. They suffered in other areas on where their revenue was lesser on that side. But people, it's not just theme parks and that experiences business, but that's the big part of it. 10% up for revenue and that. How can their revenue not go up with the amount of money they keep increasing to charge to go to their theme parks out there as well? Next up, we're going to look at Eli Lilly. You know them, pharmaceutical company. 5.39% up for Eli Lilly. It reported an earnings and revenue beat for its second quarter financial report. Eli Lilly, they raised their full year revenue guidance for 2026. Demand for its weight loss drugs out there, specifically Zepbound, well, and then their diabetes version of that Monjuro, they are continuing. Demand is continuing to be big on this and growing as well. So Eli Lilly up 5.50% based off of that news as well. When we come back later and look at stocks, we're going to look at AMD, the chip maker out there. Flutter Entertainment, the parent company of DraftKings, we're going to take a look at, and then CVS Health in the news today as well. So we're just in reporting season, slew of companies reporting out there, and we could go through probably 30 stocks of reporting yesterday and what they're doing today out there as well. Like Wynn Resorts, they were up 5% here as the markets open. Their second quarter revenue beat consensus out there, and not by a small amount, beat it by a big amount for that gambling company. Pinterest, they're down big today, about 8 to 9%. Guidance failed to impress Wall Street yesterday with their announcement, so Pinterest down today as well. Just in terms of the big names, Uber, they're down today, 2% roughly when the market's open. I believe it's down to 3% here right now. Uber's guidance for the third quarter bookings and earnings, well, missed investors' expectations out there as well for them. So some big name companies reporting yesterday, and quite honestly, just disappointing market share out there as well. And let's get into that SpaceX story before we get into some government reportings like the private payroll report, mortgage rates. I have all that for you today. But SpaceX, is technically a rocket company. But as I just told you there in the stocks we're paying attention to, they're spending a lot of money for its AI side of their business and the AI capacities. So what's that doing? Well, investors think that money is too much, and they're worried about that capital expenditure on the AI side. So, as you know, I just told you SpaceX reported revenue first quarter update as a public company. And that's, they just went IPO in June here, and this is their first one. So most of its revenue, well, it came from Starlink satellite as where it came from. Everything else is a money loser for SpaceX right now. Investor focus, though, even though the Starlink was a big darling within this company, investor focus turned to those capital expenditures based to the artificial intelligence unit, right? The XAI, which runs Gronk. Those hit $15.8 billion. The expectation was $13.09 billion. So the expectation wasn't a small number for capital expenditures, and they still blew it out of the water as well. But it doubled the previous quarter. I told you 550% up over last year as well for that capital expenditure. So the AI spending, well, it accounted for most of SpaceX overall $18.4 billion quarterly spending on capital ventures. All of a sudden, I can't talk here. So the artificial intelligence side, and I told you guys when SpaceX went live, the thing that's going to dog this stock is going to be the AI side of it, and so far that is the case. Now, the reporting of the capital expenditure caused SpaceX shares to, like I said, they were running up yesterday before they announced it as well. And then what they did was they reported a deal, like I think I told you earlier, with NVIDIA, and that read their stock up to 9%. And then you lost it all here this morning as well. SpaceX's strong results in its Starlink connectivity division, Well, what it did was it knocked shares of major wireless carriers, AT&T, Verizon, for instance, even a company called Viasat, which we talk about here from now time to time. They're satellite, internet provider, among other things, but they're competition of SpaceX and, Viasat specifically, the competition on those uplinks on airplanes, which SpaceX is getting more and more of that business out there as well. Now, this reporting also kind of ramped up the speculation that SpaceX may try to merge with its sister company out there. Of course, we're talking about Tesla. We talked about that story in the middle of last week, I believe it was. Rumors are there's a merger coming on that side. They're trying to figure out what to do with the Chinese business of Tesla if that was to happen. And that talk skyrocketed yesterday with SpaceX's announcement and the numbers that you're seeing out there. Now, the majority of SpaceX's stock is privately held, which is fine, right? 5% of the 13.9 billion shares trading on the open market. So mostly privately shared, but there's a problem with that here with the SpaceX stock. If you're an uninitiated investor and you go, it's low, I'm going to jump in on the SpaceX stock because everybody's predicting it's going to get up to $800 a share over the next year or two and things to that effect, right? Well, the reason why you should maybe hold on a little bit, if you want to think about it this way, well, Elon Musk owns about 42% of the stock. The other shareholders, the insiders, as regulators call them, well, they've all been barred so far from selling their shares of the stock. Well, this period of barring of selling, they call it the lockup period when you go live with an IPO, it expires today. So up to 20% of the total SpaceX shares held by insiders, well, they can now be sold on the open market, which is good for them because they're on paper millionaires and billionaires. They can cash out some of that money and get it into their hands starting today. Well, what that's going to do, the more shares that go out there into the market, well, more supply is out there, and that means the price per share generally falls when that happens. We talked about that yesterday with Amazon stock, right? Jeff Bezos sold 15 million shares of his stock for $4.1 billion. Well, the market reacted by going negative on Amazon yesterday. That could happen with SpaceX today as well, with those continued its downfalls. We showed you that stock earlier out there as well. Now let's get into kind of the international and national stories that you need to know. And we'll start first with China. And they announced a series of economic measures today against the United States. Well, it's tit for tat is what we're looking at right now between the U.S. and China. Now, this new one from China, it includes controls on exports of drones to the U.S. and even a ban on dealings with 6 American entities or companies out there. It's all in response to recent restrictions imposed by the United States on China that we talked about here about a month ago. Obviously, tensions are kind of ramping up here between these two countries. Well, it's all because of that expected visit by Chinese President Xi Jinping to the United States coming up in less than a month, coming up in September. Now, every time these two leaders, we saw it when President Trump was going to China earlier this summer. Now we're seeing it here, right? Little tit for tat, a little, trying to get the one up here before the presidents get together out there as well. So, something to pay attention to coming up and kind of pay attention to it, but also realize what's going on out there. Now, the Commerce Ministry from China said the sanctions are in response to the recent moves from the U.S. The U.S., if you remember, a ban by the U.S. Federal Communication Commission on imports of Chinese drones, and the Department of Homeland Security's decision to add 43 Chinese companies to the Forced Labor Prevention Act entity list, which then would prevent imports of goods made with those forced labor companies. China released a statement that emphasized that China was acting with restraint, and they urged the U.S. to scrap its measures against Beijing and seize its erroneous practices, is the wording they use there. It also warned of further sanctions if the U.S. rolls out new restrictive measures against China. So, like I said, tit for tat, basically, well, because these two countries are presidents are about to meet, and you can't just meet and have a good cordial conversation. You've got to, ramp up and try to get the upper hand, right? At least perceptionally going into these meetings coming up here. And this time, last time President Trump went to China, this time China's coming here to the United States. And let's get into some, United States stories here. And if you're looking to buy a house, we told you starter homes are kind of the places to look at right now. More deals on that side of things. Well, the problem that makes it cost inhibitive isn't just the prices of the houses, but U.S. mortgage rates. They rose again last week to the highest level in a year. So obviously, stifling down demand on home loans, in a market that is already beyond subdued. It's almost sleepy, the housing market is. The contract rate on a 30-year mortgage rose 5 basis points to 6.81% in the week ended July 31st. We get all this, don't forget, from the Mortgage Bankers Association data. They released it this morning. The result has been weaker demand for loans, obviously, with that high interest rate. The purchase index, which is MBA's purchase index, I should say, that's a measure of loan applications. Yeah, loan applications fell 3.6% from the prior week. And it's at a 5-month low as well. Now, its refinancing index slid 1.9%. That's the lowest since mid 2025 for refinancing. Mortgage rates closely track the yield on 10-year Treasury notes. Well, we know that's been sneaking up as well. And at the end of July, 10-year yields touched their highest level since early 2025. So there's a lot of things going against you if you're looking at home ownership or moving or anything to that effect out there. And it's not relaxing at all. And this economy is not going to jumpstart again until this housing people are able to move from their existing houses into other ones, even if it means downsizing, right? From big houses, when you have a bunch of kids, they get older. You want to downsize as you get older. Can't even do that right now when you have a 3% interest rate, and interest rates are pushing 7%. This market, this economy needs that to kind of loosen up in order for it to get jump started out there. Now we got the ADP report out there, and here's the summary. Hiring at those private companies slowed considerably in July. Yes. Most of the job growth, not a shocker here, comes from healthcare, which has been kind of a dominant area here over the last several years. So ADP gives us this report, and it came out early this morning. Non-farm job growth, excluded government, totaled seasonally adjusted 44,000 for the month. Well, that's well below the downwardly revised 95,000 in June. Less than the Dow Jones consensus forecast for 75,000 is what they were looking for. On net, most of the gains came from the services sector. That added 47, while goods-producing companies see a decline of 3,000 jobs. Of those jobs, education and healthcare services sector produced 36,000. Well, that's a long trend there for the industry, and leading employment growth, as I told you, multiple years now is where that's been leading. Financial activities added 10,000. Professional and business services, well, they contributed 9,000. Other services category, which is kind of everything that's not in a category, it saw a gain of 6,000 jobs. Trade, transportation, utilities, well, they were big losers. They lost 8,000 jobs. Natural resources and mining, down 6,000. Manufacturing saw growth of just 2,000. Construction was up, but barely, with 1,000 jobs at that side as well. Now, distribution among company size, well, that was balanced. Firms employing fewer than 50 people led the job growth with 23,000 new jobs. The big companies, kind of about even as well on that. Now, pay gains, they did hold steady, 4.4% annually for those staying in their jobs. But if you job switched, you saw a 7% increase, the largest since August of 2025. So I know it, but here's the problem. It's hard to find a new job these days as well in this economy. The ADP report comes 2 days, of course. On Friday, we'll get the Bureau of Labor Statistic releases their non-farm payroll report, and we'll have to see how those numbers differ than the private payroll coming up on Friday as well. And folks, you thought lettuce was going to kill you? No, now it could be jalapenos out there. Yeah. And we get this news because Chipotle Mexican Grill, they came out yesterday. They said that they had removed jalapenos from some of its restaurants. Well, they determined the peppers could potentially be tied to a salmonella outbreak that public health officials are investigating. Now, it was a brief statement, but they did put a statement out. Chipotle maintained the health and safety of their guests and employees is their highest priority. They had pulled the jalapenos out of an abundance of caution. They replaced them with products from different growers. In all locations, they did it only in certain locations, right? And those locations were where a previous common lot had been distributed, or as they're trying to find where the salmonella outbreak is coming from out there. Yeah. So lettuce first, now jalapenos. Now, Chipotle did not specify where the initial peppers came from. They did note, though, that jalapenos in question were sent across multiple states to several retailers. Now, the Minnesota Department of Health, they came out on Tuesday. That's kind of the epic center where they're looking at this. They confirmed that it was investigating a salmonella outbreak tied to several Mexican-style quick-service restaurants. Yeah, they suspect jalapenos being the source. Now, they identified, the Minnesota health officials, 110 cases in that state alone. Chipotle made up the majority of those where they were able to reach impacted consumers for an interview. Now, they ate at Chipotle between mid-June and mid-July. Like I said, Arizona's not part of this yet, right? But not all of those people had eaten at Chipotle in that time frame. So that's why there's some question marks, right, with the time frame that's kind of moved on. Now, the Minnesota Department of Health did note that other states are contributing to the investigation. They didn't say which states they were or anything, but on the federal level, the Food and Drug Administration, they're conducting the traceback probe, covering but not limited to those jalapenos. Is there kind of what they did with the lettuce? They just have to backtrack it, and you see the time frame, June to July. You have to remember what you ate, right, in that time frame. Tell me what you ate yesterday. I struggle to think of that half the time out there. So we're seeing these big outbreaks happening right now, and it seems like Midwest is a lot of those areas getting that, with Minnesota there taking it on. So just making you aware, these healthy vegetable things might be trying to kill us, folks. You know what doesn't try to kill you? Donuts. Hey, when we come back here at McCollum on Business, we keep the show rolling. That's right. We got a bunch of local stories, including kind of a staple here in Arizona, or at least popular restaurant or go restaurant, quick restaurant, going out of business. Today is the last day. Their quality's gone really far down. Private equity ruins everything, folks. That's our motto here at McCollum on Business. We'll talk about that. Plus, we talk about SNAP benefits and how many people are on that right now in Arizona. Plus, so much more. So come on back. McCollum on Business. And we're back here, McCollum on Business, here on this Wednesday edition. And folks, what a rampant show we've had so far here today. Of course, we're live here on YouTube at 7 a.m. every Monday through Friday. Now, we're back to our 5-week-a-day schedule here as the summer months, at least here in Arizona, are gone away with everybody headed back to school. End of July, beginning of August, everybody's pretty much back at this point. Back to our 5-day schedule. So that means we'll be here Thursday and Friday this week as well. We're here unless markets are closed. And folks, appreciate you joining us live. Don't forget, as soon as we're done live as well, we go on demand here, not just on YouTube, but over on Rumble as well. We'll talk about Rumble here in just a moment. As soon as we're done here as well, we go live with the main event, our sports programming out there with me and 17-year NFL veteran, Dale Hellestrey. Get it going from 8 to 10 a.m. here. Talk sports, Cardinals camp, Hall of Fame game tomorrow night. NFL season's here. Of course, your Arizona Diamondbacks, who had a little struggle last night with their best pitcher on the mound against the Padres, a team they're competing with the division with. All that and more coming up live here on YouTube. And then after that, on demand out there on YouTube as well. The pit stop coming out later today. No racing last weekend at all in IndyCar or NASCAR. So we'll have a news and look-ahead show this weekend. IndyCar's in Portland. And, of course, NASCAR going to Iowa Speedway this weekend. We'll have a look-ahead and news segment here coming up on the pit stop. That'll be on demand by 2 o'clock today here on YouTube and also over on Rumble. The only show that's not on YouTube on demand, well, that's The Real Matrix, and that's over on Rumble. Rumble.com/user/TME Media is where you can find the videos of The Real Matrix every Friday at noon. Now, there's 40 episodes out there. You can go and get caught up on them. They're all broken out by subjects for you. And, of course, free podcasting system, not just for The Real Matrix, Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart, Podchaser. I'm forgetting a couple of them. Whichever you watch your podcast or listen to your podcast, I should say, well, you can find our programming there. Every show except for this one out there on the free podcasting system. Every show has social media as well. You just search the show title, The Real Matrix, The Real Matrix with Angry Patriot, The Pit Stop with Steven, or The Pit Stop Talk, or the main event with Steven, or the main event with Dale, and it pops right up on the free podcasting systems for you. If you're driving and you'd rather listen to the programming, we're working on a way for you to listen live as well to our programming. There with through your radio or through an app on your phone. We got that hopefully coming your way soon as we're exploring those options right now. A website coming up as well that if you're in your office, you go to our website and you'll be able to get everything there as well. We're just trying to get as easy for you to connect with us out there and share us with your friends, and with the easiest way for you to catch our programming. Everybody listens and watches in different ways these days, and we're going to get out to all of them out there just to explore it, have some fun with it. We appreciate everything you guys do to support us. And don't forget, follow TME Media AZ as well on X as well. That's our parent company here, and it tells you what we do here, show updates, etc. Give us a follow there, and we appreciate it very much. With all that being said, we got a busy day. Main event coming up, pit stop coming up later on. And now, right now, the Market Watch. Yep, S&P, new record opening today as well. Dow Jones went record numbers yesterday. Well, everything is up today except for that Russell 2K. That's just being a little stubborn, being a little bit down today. The Dow Jones right now is up 472 points. The S&P 500 is up to 26 points. NASDAQ's up 59 points as of right now as well. A lot of this is being rallied by strong earnings reports, Iran optimism with that Strait of Hormuz reopening out there. All of that is leading these stocks to do what they are doing. The Russell 2K, though, is down 6 points here today for that small cap index. Then there's Bitcoin, 64,277. Well, it's gone down. It's closer to 64,000 than it was when we looked at that at the top of the hour. But again, right here in the 63 to 65 range is where the new home of Bitcoin has been recently as well. We told you earlier in the show, the Fed Chairman Kashkari, he says now is the time to start moving interest rates up slowly. And like I said, 75% of the market that kind of predict these things or put their feelings out there say there will be a rate increase here coming up in September. To kind of squash the inflation that's happening, being well above that 2% level. That's in the news right now. We're going to see more and more Fed chairmen come out with that type of talk here over the next month while we get into that September meeting time for them as well. SpaceX, as we told you, down over 12% here today. AI spending is, some investors, a lot of investors don't like that. And today is the first day that insiders with the company, right? The people that work for the company that when it went to an IPO, today is the day they can start selling those stocks. So we could see a big drop in SpaceX today with the unloading of lots of shares of SpaceX from those insiders out there as well. Other quick business news: Saudi Wealth Fund and um, finalized a $55 billion that EA Sports deal. So EA Sports is now going back private. That is an official deal out there happening this morning. Out there on the market, and we told you Uber issuing weaker than expected bookings. Their forecasts for the third quarters were lower than expected. Yeah, big news out there, including AMD. A lot of people are looking at them, and that's our first stock we're looking at right now. AMD is a chip maker. Well, they're down big today, 5.62%. Well, the second quarter results for them, well, just quite frankly, did not impress anybody out there. Obviously, specifically investors. AMD earned an adjusted $1.66 per share. Yeah, that was right ahead of the consensus estimate. So was the $11.54 billion in revenue, just above consensus estimates. The quarter three revenue guidance was about in line with expectations. It came in at about $13 billion. Didn't impress anybody, though, for a chip maker company to just come in where they were expected to be at. And they're down 5.54% today based off of that news as well from AMD. So, strong data center revenue for AMD as well. All of that. It's not bad news for AMD at all. It just still underperformed what people were hoping for, and they're down today because of that. Now there's Flutter Entertainment, the parent company of FanDuel out there. iGaming is what they've gotten into as well. They're down big today, 10.49% for Flutter Entertainment. They announced their CEO, Peter Jackson, not the movie director who did Lord of the Rings. No, not him. Peter Jackson, their CEO, would be leaving the company. And a gentleman named Dan Taylor, he's the head of the company's international business, is going to replace the current CEO on October 1st. Flutter lowered its revenue guidance for the full year, which obviously is weighing on the shares as well. So those two announcements, 10.38% down for Flutter Entertainment here on this Wednesday. And then there's CVS Health. They were up in pre-market, and look at this turnaround here as well. They were up 2.5 in pre-market. Market opens and then sell-off galore here, down 5.74% for CVS Health. They reported better than expected results on earning and revenue. Kind of the turnaround here on CVS. The reason why I have them last is I wanted to end on a positive note. This is flipped since we put these stocks into play this morning. They increased its adjusted earnings per share guidance for 2026. They adjusted it to $7.90 to $8.10. It was at $7.30 to $7.50 before. Big increase in their earnings per share, but once the markets opened here, down 5.86% for CVS Health here on this Wednesday. And I did not see that turnaround coming and that flip coming here on CVS, folks. I wanted to end on a positive note, and they didn't allow me to do that. No doubt about that. Well, a couple local stories here we got to let you know about. And since last July, so July of 2025, more than 4.5 million Americans have lost access to federal food assistance. Well, that's be the SNAP benefits here as well. But where was the steepest losses? Well, right here in Arizona. SNAP enrollment has fallen by nearly half in less than a year. So this is all according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, the CBPP. CBPP is what it's called there. They track these types of things. They've been monitoring state-by-state SNAP participation data. Now, according to that CBPP reporting, Arizona's SNAP participation fell 48% between July of 25 and June of 2026. So that number, 48%, equates to about 437,000 participants. For the first time, more Arizonans are now visiting food banks each month than are actually enrolled in food stamps. Yeah, and that's according to the Arizona Food Bank Network. The drop isn't limited to Arizona, by the way. It's nationwide out there. But also, just as a note, support your food banks out there as well, that it is needed more than ever in this time frame. But NPR, National Public Radio, they report SNAP participation has fallen in every state except for Alaska, by the way, all since the One Big Beautiful Bill Act took effect and sweeping changes to the program were implemented. You had to show job applications and legal residence and things to that effect. So, according to the CBPP, participation has declined by at least 5% in 44 states across the United States, at least by 10% in 23 states as well. And we're at 48% here in Arizona with our drop in participation out there. And ugh, now, unfortunately, we might have some more people going on benefits and things to that effect here because Salad and Go, they announced yesterday that it has filed for voluntary petitions for relief, which basically means, folks, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy as of yesterday. So they did this in the District of Texas, Houston Division, where they're based out of Texas now. But they were an Arizona staple when they started earlier. We'll give you some more details on the history of this company and kind of where you can go now to kind of supplement it. All Salad and Go locations will close permanently. Final guests receiving services here today, folks. Today's the last day to go to Salad and Go. Their quality has dropped a lot. I stopped going there because their salads, their lettuce, some of their other items just turned into not very good over the last several years. Here's the quote here. Salad and Go said on August 4th, Chapter 11 provides a court-supervised framework for the company to realize the value of its assets and to meet its obligations in an orderly manner, unquote. Meaning, pay the people that have money invested in them. If you don't know about Salad and Go, it was founded actually here in Gilbert back in 2013. They sold 60 million meals to customers over a 13-year span at the 70 drive-through locations here in Arizona and Nevada. Now, then they expanded. Then the people that started it sold the company off, and they expanded into Texas and Oklahoma. Well, those stores closed last year as when those stores closed, and they just weren't able to keep it going as well. Private equity, we tell our theme here is private equity ruins everything. Just another example of that happening. So the previous owners of Salad and Go, well, they're the ones that own Angie's, which used to be Angie's Lobster, and now it's just called Angie's. They did come out with a statement and called the news bittersweet on a post on Instagram. They left the Salad and Go company back in 2021. Some disagreements with the private equity company that bought their company, and they were still working there. They left it, started up Angie's, where you get the cheap lobster rolls, and now they've extended to salads and burgers, for instance, as well. Here's their statement here. Today is a bittersweet day for us. 13 years ago, we started Salad and Go with the simple belief that great tasting, good for you food should be affordable for everyone. We dreamed that anywhere there was a McDonald's, there would also be a better and healthier alternative that people could afford. Although we exited in 2021, watching the company announce its closing of its remaining locations is heartbreaking. We're grateful for every team member, customer, supplier, and community that believed in our crazy mission. When we started Angie's, we didn't set out to recreate the past. We set out to keep chasing the same dream that inspired us from the beginning. Make better food more affordable to everyone. Whether it's USDA prime steak, antibiotic-free chicken, fresh-cut salads with organic romaine, even seed oil-free dressings. Wild-caught seafood is what they serve now as well. They get into premium pizzas. They said, or whatever comes next to our mission remains the same. The best food shouldn't be reserved for people of a certain income. It should be available to everyone. That's why every decision we make starts with one question. What do people want to eat and need to eat? And then how do we make it better and more affordable? Again, this is the statement from Angie's owners, the people that started Salad and Go. They went on to say, to everyone who was ever a part of the Salad and Go journey with us, we thank you. To everyone joining us at Angie's, we're just getting started. Yeah. It's a great statement in my opinion because they're lamenting on the loss of the company that they started and had great success with, sold it for a lot of money as well. But they're also missing it, but they're also inviting you. A lot of people don't know. I was reading the comments on, I think it was ABC 15's post. The amount of people that didn't know Angie's was the previous owners of Salad and Go when they sold it off as well. So, and they do salads now also. So it's not just that's why they changed their name to Angie's instead of Angie's Seafood that it was for a while. Prime rib. I know burgers are on the menu with the salads as well out there. I didn't know they did pizzas. That might be a new thing that I don't. I don't look at the menu. I go there and I get my lobster roll and I move on with my life. And their lemonade as well out there. So if you are lamenting the fact that you can't go to Salad and Go after today, and like I said, Salad and Go was good for the pricing. It's just I just last time I ate there, and I'm a lettuce snob. I'm not going to lie to you. It was just not good lettuce, and I was very disappointed in it. And it's been probably haven't eaten there since March or April. Apparently, I'm not alone out there as well. So, Salad and Go, staple going away. And we'll have to see. It'll be interesting to see. Angie's Lobsters, I know they were looking at locations in Texas and Oklahoma to take over. Here in the Valley, is there going to be a rapid expansion of Angie's coming our way is kind of the question we got to look at as well. And, hey, Pinnacle West, you ever heard of them? Well, if you haven't, they're the parent company of APS out there. We know they record retail sales on its August 4th earnings call. They reported those. Record number of sales, folks. But they say their overall profits are down $14 million. They say it's due to debt and depreciation on its power plant and transmission assets. They're trying to justify their 14% increase, right? The company says data centers and semiconductor manufacturers, data centers, but specifically they named TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor. They made up about half of all new retail sales. These large loads are also driving the need to double generating capacity at APS within the next few years, which means 14% price increases for you, your homeowner, because of these large commercial industries drawing more and more power. Yeah. Because APS is going to have to add to existing construction. They're going to have to go into more debt to build these things, to generate more money. And you're going to pay it on the backside of you coming up here, the homeowner. Now, the CEO of APS mentioned that the company will be filing an integrated resource plan in October, and that will include in the forecast all committed customer growth. That'll include fully intended build-out of TSMC. They went on to say, we continue to work with our TSMC on what their announcement means in terms of timing that capacity situation. APS has 8.6 gigawatts of existing capacity. Now, they expect to commit another 4.6 gigawatts. That will require significant building out of its natural gas infrastructure, Palo Verde nuclear generating station, and transmission systems to get that power around as well out there. So, they flat out told you, TSMC and these data centers are drawing most of the power demand that is leading to record numbers of revenue for the power company. You're going to pay it as a homeowner, as they're going to raise your rates because of all the growing they have to do for these data centers and everything else, folks. So buckle up. It ain't getting any easier out there. Yesterday, a big announcement here in Phoenix out there at State Farm Stadium where the Arizona Cardinals play, UFC, WWE, even PBR. 3 major events are coming to the Phoenix area. The announcements were yesterday as well. We knew it was coming. There was a deal between the Arizona Sports and Events Alliance and about a month or two ago saying we were going to get these events, and we're finding out what these events are now as well. So Noche UFC, the WWE Royal Rumble next year, 2027, and even PBR World Finals. They'll be the first events held under this new multi-year partnership coming into Arizona. So the 7-event, 3-year deal is what they're working under here. It's TKO's first agreement with the organizations here. They own UFC, WWE, PBR, Zuffa Boxing they own as well. TKO does. Now, Desert Diamond Arena and State Farm Stadium is where these events will be held coming up as well. So Noche UFC, that's the one coming up here September 12th at Desert Diamond Arena. A main event between former interim featherweight champion Yair Rodriguez and Gene Silva are battling that one out as well in that card. Coming up September 12th, just coming up, a few weeks, a month or so from now, I guess I should say. The 40th annual WWE Royal Rumble, that'll be February of 2027 at State Farm Stadium. The first time that venue's first hosted the event, it was Royal Rumble was here. I don't remember the time frame now. It had to be a 2017, 2018 time frame, but it was over at Chase Field. 2019 is what I'm being told, at Chase Field at that time. That's a fun event to go to, folks. I love that one. The PBR World Finals was already announced, but that'll take place May 20th through the 23rd of next year at Desert Diamond Arena. The bull riding happening at that point as well. So now Zuffa Boxing, that's led by Dana White and Nick Khan. They own those and kind of run that. Well, it's owned by TKO, but they kind of run that as well. No events have been listed yet as of on that deal on when they will be coming here also. But folks, Royal Rumble is an international event. People come from all over to go to that. It's a big deal coming up in February of 2027 next year. So, and then other news out there at State Farm Stadium, the U.S. men's national team, fresh off their round of 16 run here in the World Cup here in the United States. Well, they announced on August 4th that they will return to the field for 4 international matches. They're kicking off a new cycle, of course, and leading to other tournaments before the 4 years from now for the World Cup. So USA versus Mexico rivalry game coming to the Valley on October 3rd coming up. Kickoff set for 7 p.m. State Farm Stadium where the Cardinals play. Fans are encouraged to sign up for the pre-sale at State Farm Stadium. Just go to State Farm Stadium and you'll see the pre-sale link there as well. Tickets for their matches will be available to the general public beginning Friday, August 7th, 10 a.m. local time. The pre-sale will start today, 10 a.m. local time here at State Farm Stadium as well on this announcement. So now this will be the first appearance of Mexico's team in Arizona under their new leadership of their new manager, the former legendary player, Rafi Marquez. FC Barcelona for you football fans out there as well. He was appointed head coach, after Mexico's round of 16 defeat to England in the World Cup just a month or so ago down there in Mexico City. So new coach for Mexico coming up here as well. Yeah. And then, of course, U.S. lost to Belgium in the round of 16. Coming up here, folks, and big news happening in big sporting events coming our way here in the Valley. Of course, lead that generation of revenue out there as well. And here on this course of Wednesday show, appreciate you joining us out there. Ann says, I will miss the quick backup option for a healthier lunch option, meaning salad and go. But she said, I agree, the quality has decreased over the last couple years. Yeah, it's been bad. Like I said, I've stopped going there. I mean, even yesterday, it was ironic before they made the announcement. Me and Ethan had something to go to last night. He goes, you haven't been to Angie's in a while. And I was like, yeah, I haven't been there all summer either. So I'm also neglecting Angie's. I need to get back over there. But because Sal and Go just kind of turned me off a little bit. Ethan also says, let's get ready to rumble. That's right. We're a Rumble, folks. Fun event. It ain't going to be cheap to get tickets to it. I'll tell you that right now. But fun event. Coming up there. That's when 30 participants come into the ring a few minutes apart. It's a blast, folks. Hey, on the main event, maybe we'll get Dale Hillestrade to that event. All right. He always makes fun of wrestling and how we watch it and everything out there. So we'll have to bring that up today on the main event, which is coming up next, live here, 8 to 10 a.m. Come and join us live on YouTube. If you can't catch us live, if your bosses are slave drivers and you have meetings or whatnot, we'll catch us later on in the day on demand, of course, or on the free podcasting systems. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Have a great Wednesday night.